Hello everyone, I'm back, and today we've got the first balance update I'm gonna look at and review. Hopefully this is going to be a quick one, because my videos have been getting pretty long lately. I'm gonna break this down into two segments, basically, the everything else and the Ultramarines, and let's start off with everything else. So we got some nice changes here. Commissar Denkler, he was a bit on a weaker side, I think, in general, so increasing his health to 35, I think is perfectly fine. Quite like it. And Boss Sidestruck, I don't think that's gonna fix Boss Sidestruck, but it's gonna be more interesting that you can actually just use his Warlord of Power for 1 energy. I think that's pretty cool. Now we're gonna get into the two major things, which is Ursula and Magus. I don't think this is a step in the right direction. I don't think this fixes what they do. I think the -1 cost part is still a bit... I don't like it. I would have rather seen, personally myself, to remove the -1 cost part than the non-legendary part. But the non-legendary part, don't get me wrong, does help. I think this is actually a bigger nerf to Ursula rather than Magus, because Genestealers Cults still have like a lot of good infantry choices without getting the 2 or 3 legendaries they could have. And actually one of the legendaries they could choose is not really the best, the Primus. It's just a 9 energy cost. It's very expensive. It's not the best choice. You normally ignored that one. So meh. First of the Creed though, like I went through and you got about 20 different cards which are inside the Ashe Militarum Tactics or stratagems, and I was looking through it. A majority of them are actually pretty bad. You don't want them, and so hence removing the 3 Cadia Stands, High Command, and Godspear actually removes more options than it. Like, it's a bigger hit to Ursula. Like, you still have a lot of options with Magus to choose from, which are not legendary, which are really good options. And one of the options you actually remove is bad, so removing a bad option is just less likely to get a bad option. Ursula, you've just removed 3 really good cards that you could get, so this does nerf Ursula, I think, a lot more actually. Is she still broken? Yeah, I absolutely think Ursula is still absolutely broken, because I still think Cadia Stands is busted. I still think like the energy sheet she can do is busted. I think what's now going to be a problem is she's more likely to get full throttle, so you're more likely to see a 3 energy turn, so to turn 2 3 Leman Russ, and that is completely broken because that is an instant win game and it's not fun for anybody really, unless you're a psychopath and just like to see the world burn or explode, I suppose. Anyway, this is a big enough to Ursula, and now I don't think she's as powerful as before, at least not as consistent she was before doing broken plays, but it's still certainly there. It's still not exactly fun. I think it's the -1 cost part, which for Ursula, for me, was really more broken part, but it's a step in the right direction. I don't hate it. We're going to see more Ashe Militarum nerfs, I'm sure, because they are very powerful right now, and I don't think the best decks have been created yet at all. I think there's still work to be done around that area, and we're still to unlock that. But this is a good step in the right direction, at least. You're at least not going to get double Cadia Stands or triple Cadia Stands in a single game. At least that's not going to be a thing. Now onto the Ultramarines. So there's a lot of changes here. I think from just a synopsis of the Ultramarines in general, if you've seen my Chaplain Lavarius video, I think it's still the best deck for the Ultramarines you can get. The vehicles haven't really been buffed. Your late game potential hasn't been buffed at all, to be frankly honest. Ultramarines late game is just, well, it's not like it's bad, it's just nothing compared to Magus or Creed or Adeptus Junif, the Adeptus Sororitas. You can't compete, so you have to go aggro, and it is a buff to aggro overall. There's a few cards here where I'm like, ooh, they could be interesting, but that's just a synopsis of the Ultramarines in general. We'll go into some of the details. So, one of the things to make vehicles a bit better, it's one of the few things, but the Primaris Invader ATV, increase health from 4 to 5. We'll bring up Warforge, and we'll go over some of the cards. Make sure we're on Ultramarine. And I don't have quite the full collection, but I think I have all the cards which have been buffed, to be honest. So, one of the key cards, of course, is this bugger, the Primaris Invader. And it's 5 health now, which is quite a big deal because it means that it's not going to just die. 5 health units live on 4 energy on curve. They do die, however, if they only have 4 life, and that's just a thing. Don't know, ask me why. 5 life, key crucial point if you want your unit to actually live. Now it'll actually live, get a second Codex trigger, do its thing. It will help the Ultramarines vehicle decks. It certainly is not going to be good, I'd say. The vehicle decks aren't going to be good. The Primaris Invader is actually going to be like a decent card now. That you're not going wrong with the Invader anymore. That's my personal opinion. Now, Hellblasters. This is quite an interesting one, actually. Increase health from 4 to 5. As I said, 5 health units don't die, and 4 energy is certainly the section where your Ultramarines are weakest. At least when I've been playing them, I've been struggling to find which 4 energy unit I want to add to my deck. And Hellblasters are an actual option now, because, as I say, anything for 5 health might just live in this game at 4 energy on curve. So, this actually even 5 health, it stands a shot. And that means it stands a shot at actually shooting its Hellblaster's 5 range attack with Blast 2. It wasn't going to do it before. I'm actually interested in this card now. It could go back down to 4 range attack. It wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, to be honest. Because it's got 5 health. So yeah, this is... I know I certainly test with this card now because it's very interesting in my opinion. And it certainly supports the archetype I'm going for with Chaplain of Virus. Early game, absolutely supports it. Might just live. May be able to buff this up, do some damage, get the blast off. Hopefully that's a dream, but yeah, it's certainly more plausible now with 5 health. Now, Aggressor Sergeant. This bugger is... This guy is... He's a big boy. I was almost using him before. And I think he might just replace the Primaris and Volpulsar. Because he's got, like, really good stats now. Like, this is a 5/5 with 6 life and Blast 2. This is why I've almost suggested it could go down in range attack or something. Because it's the blast. If it's ever going to get the blast health, it needs the health to be able to take the hit and able to do damage back. So the health increase is actually really important, and this is huge for this unit. And the fact that it still keeps its 5/5, it's a really, really scary unit. I was like, if you've seen the Ultramarine buffs I'll do, this is one of the recommended things I would suggest, and I was suggesting, you know, a bit of a trade-off. It didn't get the trade-off, it just got the buff. So yeah, I think this is going into pretty much every single Ultramarines deck now, and with the Blast 2, it's really quite scary. And I think it's placing the Primaris and Pulsar because, of course, that doesn't quite synergize with Gather the Company. So, in the best deck, needs some testing, of course, but I suspect this guy, because he was almost there, and now he's definitely there. Then we got a bit of a buff to Prior Vanguard. Look, cost lowered by 2 to 1. I don't think it's still done a C play. Like, what is it doing? Like, giving Vanguard and +2 melee attack? Like, there's another card which got changed. I'm not saying it's got buffed. We'll come to later. But, I mean, I guess it could technically be used there. There's a funny play you can do. But, we'll save that. Next up, we got Honor Guard. I was already using this guy. Where is he? There he is. He used to be 3 range attack, 5 life, 4 melee. Now he's a 4/4 with 5 life. You're starting to see this, but we have a 5/5 with 6 life and a 4/4 with 5 life. We're not able to be countered. Like, there's going to be a lot of things which are just going to hit, and then have to just take the damage no matter what. This is particularly good because there's been a lot of times when with Chaplain Virus, buffed up the board, give them extra range attack, and he's just gone from, like, I don't know, a 4/3 into a 4/4. Now he's going to be a 4/5, and with the buff. So you're actually going to get into that range attack positive more often, and that's going to be quite scary. Yeah, already using him, and he's now just better. So, yeah, nothing to say about that. Primus Reaver, I don't know why this guy got buffed. I mean, like, we'll take it. Don't get me wrong, Ultramarines needs the buffs. But this guy's already a good unit. He's a flanker with 3 attack, 2 range, and now 3 life. Like, beforehand he attacked and he died. Now he has to be dealt with. And it supports more of my... Like, they have to send something into it. Maybe a board wipe, but then they have to board wipe sort of thing. And then, or they have to attack it with all... Something needs to go into this if he just doesn't take 2 damage, which is huge. Huge. So, certainly in the early game, this is like a real big threat now. Like, he isn't gonna instantly die. He's to remove something else. He's a problem. And I absolutely appreciate. I mean, I don't think he needed a buff. I wouldn't have not chosen to buff this guy, but hey, we'll take it. Outrider, change description to basically gets +1 range attack as well now, not just +1 melee. This is for the vehicle build. I was almost putting him to my decks because he's actually a pretty decent card. But if you're going for the vehicle build, this, like, it helps because if you try to remove something with a +1 melee before with a 4 melee, like, if they were flying, it was a bit annoying to use this guy. He only did 2 damage and he just died afterwards. So I think it's quite nice, quite a nice change, but I don't think it's anything like Giga busted or anything. It's just a helping hand. Still good and still good after the buff. Now, after this, Angels of Death, lower cost from 7 to 6. This is interesting. Because beforehand, I was using the Inceptors with the flank. Now, Angels of Death, of course, puts in these guys, but now they have flank. I'm going for board-wide aggro strategy. And now we're getting this for the same cost. This needs testing, but I suspect I'm going to be using Angels of Death, everybody. Because if you're going board-wide, then buff them all up and really go for this aggro strategy the Ultramarines do. The only way I've been able to figure out how to buff them to make them work. Suddenly now with this, we'll see. It's suddenly a contentious point. Inceptor Sergeant might just still be better because it's got like more life and they could do 3 melee attack, 3 range attack, and the guys die anyway. But suddenly you can spread the damage easier. So you can do 4 damage to one target, 2 damage to another. Yeah, 2 guys die, but then maybe 1 lives, and then he can be buffed later on. I don't know. Could be quite scary. Or it could just be this guy's still better. Who knows? I think I quite like the card now. And now finally we're going to get into Sergeant Tallinn. And this is what I mean by Prior Vanguard. There is a funny play we can do with him. Where you can play him for 5. You Codex, refill 1. Then you could put 2 scouts down. That's them refilling every single time. And then you can put Prior Vanguard on both of them. So you have Sergeant Tallinn and then 2 scouts with Vanguard, both with camouflage. Actually, everything has camouflage. It'll be quite funny. I will give them that. You're using, like, what is it, 4, 5 cards in a single turn? And that's a lot of Codex triggers. If you have something with Codex, that's just going to be, like, popping off. Like, if you somehow have this guy down, oh boy, that's quite scary. And you have all these guys, just 2 guys, just Vanguard. You just better have board wipe. That's what you're saying to Bone. Otherwise, you can't take out the guy with snipe and the guy with Codex and all that. But apart from something funny like that, he might actually be worse. Yeah, like I think he does do something interesting now. Like he enables certain plays. What I will say is he's probably best in Tigurius. Because it enables certain plays to happen, and I think Tigurius is most likely able to get those plays. For example, Tactical Insight is probably the ones people are thinking about, because what you got is Sergeant Tallinn refills 1 energy on Codex, and then you Tactical Insight. So you got Sergeant Tallinn, just the initial Codex, just playing Sergeant Tallinn on turn 5, like E5. Then Tactical Insight, which is another Codex trigger within itself. Then you go up to 3 energy. And then you could get another Codex trigger, which would be 3 Codex triggers in 1 turn, which is actually pretty scary if you're able to get, like, Lieutenant Calcius on turn 6. Then you, like, I guess, Sergeant Talion and then followed by Hero Power, you could get that on turn E6, turn E7, you get Sergeant Talion Hero Power. That will be, what is it, another Codec trigger, you refill one, then you Tactical Insight, and then you play a 3 energy drop. That could be 3 instances of Sergeant Talion if he doesn't die. Not so confident that he will live, but if he does live, my boy, is he gonna put down the pain with Sergeant Talion if you manage to get the whole combo off. Certainly interesting, but it's like it's a weird one because it's definitely gonna stick inside your hand, I would say. I don't think it's great to have it. Like, it's gonna stick inside your hand, it's gonna be there, it's gonna have to be for combo play. And it's interesting, but I don't think it's gonna be the best thing we've ever seen. But we'll see. And the reason why I also say Tigurius would be better with that is because if you do need to use your Hero Power with Tactical Insight, let's say you get Sergeant Talion, then you Tactical Insight with Virgo Tigurius, you can then, this is done refill 2, and then Sergeant Talion's done refill another one, meaning it's a refill 3. So you got 3 energy to spend. Well, there's only one Warlord which can actually spend 3 energy, and that's Virgo Tigurius using Smite. So it's certainly interesting. And hence, since because of all the tactics I see, there's potential there. I think it needs testing. I do like it. It's another tool in your toolbox. So I think they did come up with something which is clever. I don't think it's going to break the game in any sort of way, though. Don't expect it to. Just refilling one, it isn't like enough. What I would say is, if you are doing that, and definitely do consider getting some scouts potentially, but definitely do consider for deployment, because the only way this was useful before was, frankly honest, on something like Sergeant Talion. You could give himself snipe. He has snipe now, and you just flanked with the guy, and you can still very much do that for 7 energy. You now actually have +1 range attack, so you have 7 range attack, so it can just come along, flank, kill something. You would lose camouflage, but it's probably worthwhile if it's something big. And you can do that with where are they? These guys. You can do that with these guys as well. So there's some interesting plays you can do with Sergeant Talion, and it's certainly a more of a toolboxy thing. However, in reality, I don't think it will be consistent. I don't think it will really like work. So it's a bit of a shame. Certainly you could use testing, but I don't think it's the best thing we've ever seen. Apart from that, yeah, I think ultimately let's go over a deck which we could use, and if I was going to do anything, I think it would be just a copy of this guy. Anyway, that's my opinion of balance update. I think it does quite a bit. It's certainly going in the right direction. However, I don't think it's solved anything. Like, it's the problems which are there are still there. Imperial Guard are still broken as. Magnus is still gonna be one of the better warlords. Still oppressive, but probably just, you know, it's taken that touch off of Magnus, I think, but I don't think it's really nerfed it at all. And Ultramarines, I'm afraid, are still struggling. I think they're still going to struggle. I'm certainly going to test with this, see how this goes, see what the buffs really mean. But I think they're still going to be the weakest faction. But I think it's in the right direction. It is in the right direction, and hopefully this actually results in something good. Anyway, hope you all enjoy, and see you next time.